Good evening, Patrick here. 8 questions with. Thank you for coming up and showing up, and thank you for your support. It is a weird day here in southeast Michigan. It is rainy. We've had thunderstorms come through the area, but nothing really heavy, like no big downpours. Just a lot of thunder and lightning. It's hot and muggy here, that's for sure too. It is hot and muggy. Um, so we'll probably get some more bad weather during the night. But probably no tornadoes, which is a good thing, heading into August and our anniversary of our own tornado that touched down in our town last year. Of course, everybody's out there today, this weekend, watching Twisters, which was the sequel to 1996's movie called Twister with Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. Twister stars Daisy Edgar Jones and the man of the moment, Glenn Powell, and doing very, very well, really well, big money. I do believe that the summer blockbuster has come back with a vengeance. It is only halfway through, and we still got big movies coming ahead of us. We got Borderlands, we got Daredevil, and I mean not Daredevil, but Deadpool and Wolverine, among a couple of other ones. So stick around. Let's see. Anthony is here. It says that he has been to the library today. He just posted it. I'll have to take a look at it. Our guest tonight is a fine actor. Chris Lazzaro will be here with us. Chris Lazzaro is one of the stars of the new film, The Omicron Killer, which is out on BayView Entertainment right now. And we'll be talking to him about his role as Crazy Chris in that movie. I have actually watched and reviewed that movie, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, had a lot of heart in it. Really good acting. Some really good acting involved for a movie at that level. Extraordinary, actually. I enjoyed it, and we're going to be talking to Chris about his role in it and about his career. He has over 40 credits to his name, so he has been very, very busy in his career, and we'll talk to him about that. Let you know that this is a Monday night. Generally, we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but we will be taking Thursday off this year. So it is Chris Lazzaro tonight. Tomorrow night, we'll be joined by Chris O'Connor from the Cabin in the Woods Film Festival. We'll be joined by special co-host DeRay, aka Rainbow Fright. She'll be here, sprinkling a little stardust on the proceedings. And then on Wednesday, the 24th, from Boston, hailing from the great state of Boston, did I say state? Great state of Massachusetts, the Boston area. We'll be talking with the band Major Moment, and they'll be here on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. All right, so and we're working on August. We're working on August. I probably won't announce anything more on that until I get a few more names crossed up. It looks to be a very busy month. I can tell you that right now. It looks like we'll probably doing some matinee shows during August because we have a full calendar coming up, and I'm looking forward to it. We have a couple of small business owners that are making their way to, hopefully taking the next step forward, and we're looking forward to talking to them. And we got some other things coming up. It is Monday, which means it is also Dollar Theater Day. And if you have not seen the new film by Dollar Theater, hey TJ, how are you? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Hopefully, you guys will stick around and for a conversation with Chris Lazzaro. He seems a very, very nice show, man, and he's got a nice. He's got some really cool credits underneath his belt, including the Omicron Killer, which we'll be talking to him about today. And so I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a fun conversation. I definitely want to say last week was one of the best I've had. I definitely want to give it out to. I just had so much fun last night or last week, um, and I hope you guys come by and visit our replay. Oops, like I definitely hope you guys come out and watch some of the replays of some of the shows that we've done, um, including the one that we did with actor Eric Hansen, which we talked about a movie that I watched and reviewed as well. My review comes out tomorrow called Nefarious. Now I know I may be Johnny come lately on this movie. I know a lot of people have watched it already, but I don't really know how many have actually really understand what they watch. Um, it's interesting. It's an interesting movie, and it's one that you probably have to watch twice. Like I plan on watching it another time. I also would like to get a physical copy of it. I was hoping by this time the library would have dropped a copy of, but with knowing that the library is only buying one copy of everything, I don't think I'll get it that way. Hopefully, someone will drop it off to donations. I can get it. I can get it that way. I can get it that way for a quarter. All right. So yeah, that was a sensational interview last week. And I one of my that's one of my favorites actually. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I really enjoyed talking to him quite a bit, Eric Hansen, and now, normally what I don't do is I normally do not post my reviews before I do my interviews. I always post it afterwards for the most part. Um, this was a little different. Uh, and for the Omicron Killer, I was asked to juggle my schedule around a little bit, and I'm more than happy to do it, especially when I get a chance to talk to actors such as Chris Lazzaro. Definitely going to do that in a heartbeat. Hopefully, we'll even have a couple more actors from the Omicron Killer. Hopefully, we'll get to talk to them. I was hoping to talk to the director of the movie, but he had already and this is I actually really admire this. um he was real honest. He said that he'd been talked out. He was talked out about talking about the movie, and he said he'd catch me for the next one. I like that. I'm all right with that. um sometimes that's what happens. You, as a filmmaker or a cast member, you'll do press, and next thing you know, you find yourself answering the same damn 20 questions over and over and over. Now, of course, you guys all know by watching Eight Questions with, we ain't like that. We different. We always ask the weird questions. I like to think somewhat weird questions. Um, but I totally respect that from Jeff, who directed Omnicron Killer, and we're gonna catch him next for the next one. Um, and based on what the Omnicron Killer is, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see what Jeff brings to the party because if it's anything like the Omnicron Killer, sign us up. Um, yeah, that's. But I as far as doing my review, I talked to Eric Hansen from Nefarious. Now he has two critical scenes in the movie, and so I want to I've seen the preview for it, but I want to have a fresh mind, right? I don't want to be swayed. So what I did was I did my interview with Eric, and then I went back and I watched Nefarious. I went and watched Nefarious. That's on Tubi. And oh man, I gotta tell you, um, that's an interesting movie. Interesting movie. Um, still wrapping my head around it. Um, it's interesting. I know I keep saying that word a lot describing it because I sort of find myself holding back a little bit. What else is happening here on the channel? Oh yes, Sharks versus Schlocks or Sharks and Schlocks is still going on. Sharks and Schlocks still going on. Um, Last week, me and Eric from Hey Internet, it's Eric. We battled it hard. I got to watch Don't Go in the Woods Alone. I tell you what, if I do go in the woods, I'm taking Eric's ass with me, especially if it has to watch that movie. But then again, I found out that I shouldn't really be too upset because I gave him a movie called The Sharks of the Corn, The Sharks of the Corn, and yeah, it seems like I picked a winner there for him. Uh, he uh, he did a 20-minute review of The Sharks of the Corn, and he absolutely hated it. I had no idea how. I had no idea. I did not watch the movie. I did my movies blind for him. Yeah, I did. Well, except for one. One was semi-blind, or two. Actually, no. I take it back. Three were blind. One semi-blind, and one was I had already watched. I had watched Swamp Shark, and I knew that he enjoyed that. Then we had Shark Huntress. I thought that movie was going to be all right, because most of these shark movies always have a hot babe on the cover. You go like, okay, maybe if the movie can be stinky, but at least it has a hot babe you could look at. I guess that they didn't have either one. So Shark Huntress was not a winner. Um, and I got to watch. Like I said, I got to watch Woods, and before that, I got to watch. Of course, I got to watch River of Darkness. While he got to watch Shark Huntress. I enjoyed River of Darkness. I thought it was all right. I thought it was okay. That shocked everybody. Then I watched Creepshow 3 to kick it off. Um, I didn't even know there was Creepshow 3. I still don't realize. I still don't understand. Now I'm looking for Creepshow 4 because I'm going like, okay, well they must have made a Creepshow 4. Well, they haven't. Not that I know of. And of course, Eric got, like I said, Eric got started off with Swamp Shark, which was a very cool movie, by the way. It's one of the made for Sci-Fi Channel movies, but it actually has a lot of fun. It has some star power to it too. Let me tell you, I think that's really what surprised Eric when he saw the movie was, it's like, wow, there's some hitters in here. Yeah, yeah, there was, and you know what? It wasn't half bad. Um, I mean, even though it's a low budget shark movie, I think the cast had professional pride, and they went out there and they gave a really good effort and made Swamp Shark into a really fun movie to watch. Um, so we have two more. We have two more movies to watch this week. I got stuck watching the Leprechauns game. Yeah, I went and rewatched Don't Go in the Woods again and Creepshow 3. Um, it's god awful. It is god awful. Um, Yeah, not fun. Let's see. Want to make sure our guest is okay. Yep, I don't see him pinging me, so that means he's good. That's always a good sign. Um, so to make sure of that. And then Eric's got a movie called the I think it's called The Blue Demon, but it has Jeff Fahey in it. So he got another solid movie because Jeff Fahey he's a really good actor. One of both mine and Eric's favorites. And we were, like when he saw that, he's like, okay. And there's a movie, there's two shark movies. One's called The Blue Demon, one's called The Black Demon. So I think the Blue Demon has Jeff Fahey in it, and the Black Demon has Josh Lucas in it. Either one's pretty good for me because I enjoy both those actors quite a bit. And I did try to find the one with Josh Lucas on it, but unfortunately I couldn't find it on Tubi. So we went with the other one, the alternative one with Jeff Fahey, which we have high hopes for. Uh, and then next week is our last week of Sharks and Schlocks. And I will be watching a movie called Sushi Girl, which Eric knew is quite good, and he gave that to me to close out the month. And I gave him one that started this whole thing off. I gave him Ouija Shark 2. Now I know you guys are all looking at me going like, man, I thought you guys were friends. We are, which is why I gave him Ouija Shark 2 because it's pretty darn good. Definitely considered to the first one. But I mean, overall, it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't expect to see a 25-minute rant on Ouija Shark 2 like the Ouija Shark got. I expect Eric to come back to me, and I really do. I expect him to come back to me and say, hey, this wasn't half bad. I mean, for what it is, because he's not a really big lover of bass shark movies, but I think he'll like this one. I think he will. This is the one I picked last for him because I know the director of the Wheezy Shark 2, He's actually pretty good. He can make movies. And so yeah, we're looking forward to next week, and then it's gonna be exciting. Gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting the rest of the month. Okay, so our guest will be here in a minute, and wow, how many people actually did go and watch Twisters? I'm really curious. I mean, it made over $80 million. $80 million. It's like a box office record for disaster films. Um, my only comment was, well, someone is commenting on how on Ryan. Um, he had reviewed it. He had reviewed it on his channel. Our friend Ryan, and he says it was good to see that. It was good to see. It was good to see that the movie had done really, really well, and it was. But I gotta admit, I was a little disappointed because I told Ryan, it says I just sort of wish these people would have came out for Devotion that way. Devotion was Glenn Powell produced that movie, and it starred Glenn Powell and Jonathan Majors, and it's a sensational movie. It's a very good movie, and do not let what Jonathan Majors did is don't let him poison the well against this movie. This movie is really, really powerful, and it deserves an audience. It's on physical media, so you can go ahead and go out there and actually buy a copy of this film, which I hope that you do. It's an important movie. It's an important movie, and it's a very heartfelt movie, and one I enjoy very much. All right, the doorbell has rang, which means our friend Chris is here. Chris Lazzaro is here. So, hey, it's Pat Master. What's going on? I guess so. All right, so let's go welcome in our good friend Chris Lazzaro. He is here, and we're gonna go talk some movies and acting.
What's up, Pat? How are you?
Good, good. How are you, sir?
Good. This is definitely a new app to use, so I had to fill some things out that I didn't know I was going to have to, or like I had to download a certain browser.
Right, right. Yeah, you can open it up. You can actually open it up through Chrome. Is That's why how we'll open it through Chrome. That's how I open it
Of
up
course,
with.
the one time I'm using Safari, that happens, but
Right,
it's
right.
all good. We're here.
Isn't that always the case? I'm glad you're here, man. We're just talking a little bit about we're talking about summer, man. Summer blockbusters are out and popping this year. It looks like the movie business has finally gotten back to where it was before COVID. It is
And then don't forget the strikes too.
and the yes, and the strikes also did not help at all. And next thing you know, we're rolling in. We're rolling into every weekend now as a new and big production, and it's going out there and making the money. Um, as an actor, as an actor, a working actor, do you pay attention to the trades? Do you look at that every Sunday night, every Monday morning to see what movies made money?
I'll be honest with you, I do not. I'm not saying that that's not a smart thing to do, but it's just never been. By the way, my eye line, I hope it's okay that I'm looking at you and not in the camera. It'll be more natural for me to look at you.
No, that's
That
fine.
being,
I
yeah,
look off I look off too. I notice when I look. I'm always looking off through off camera too.
yeah. That being said, it's not something I look at, but maybe it'll help certain actors. I'm not sure. Looking at the gross income of certain
No,
movies, that probably filmmakers more than actors because those are the people that are trying to sell the movies, right?
right, and it's interesting you say that because like most producers, most actors will not, or most producers will. And I was just saying that right beforehand, like Glenn Powell he's just having a hell of a year right now. He's got Hitman, which has been the #1 movie on Netflix for most of the summer, if not in the top five. Of course, he now he's had Twisters. He's had the romantic comedy that came out Sydney Sweeney. So the man's on a roll right now, and I was just bummed out. I was telling a fellow YouTuber who reviews films. He was reviewing Twisters, and I was like, "This is really awesome, man." But I wish all these people would have came and saw the most important movie that he made, which was Devotion. I'm sitting there going like, these are all fun. These are great popcorn movies and whatnot. But as far as like gravitas, like a movie that you're talking about, like, wow, this is an important movie. Nobody really talks about Devotion because nobody really saw it.
I guess we all got to see it. Devotion.
Oh, that's a good movie.
I I don't want to call myself a movie buff, but I do love. I do my research on what movies I'm going to watch next. I'm more of a movie guy than a TV guy. I can't go tit for tat on directors or cinematographers, but I think, when I do my research and a movie has either good reviews or it's been recommended to me, I go and watch it. So
Yeah,
I will put Devotion on my list.
what do you guys look for? I mean, do you guys, when you guys are talking among yourselves, like say you're on location or what have you, do when you guys should just stand around waiting for the next scene or whatnot, if you're not necessarily running lines or anything like that? But do you and your peers talk about that, like review sites? Do people give any sort of credence to Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, or is this just, or are those sites just a tool for the average public? And because I notice a lot of actors, which confuses me a little bit, is that like they will create their own groups on Facebook, and it's IMDb groups, and you go in there and you see them like going to each other's page, like, okay, go to my page, comment on one of the movies you saw, and then
I'll be
come.
I mean, amongst my actor circles. Most of my actor circles are in New York. I have a couple in LA. It doesn't seem to be that popular amongst groups that I know. Well, I do know a lot of actors go to other actors' IMDb's to see who the representation is, their managers, their agents, and especially if they're eyeing to get signed or work with a manager or agent, they'll go to actors' IMDb's and see who's working with that agent to see if they're interested, etc.
Well, these guys are doing it to raise the ratings. Like sometimes you'll see someone post their picture and they'll say their star meter, and their star meter is going up by like a thousand.
People care about star meter, but I think unless you're an A-list celebrity, so like A-list celebrities of course are competing with the star meters, but then a lot of the films that I'm either a part of, or most people that I know are part of, they're in a lot of independent films, and independent films, a lot of filmmakers, directors, writers, they want to get people with higher star meters in their movies. They're not going to, it's very rare to get somebody in the top 300, 400, but you're looking to get somebody in the few thousands just to get some recognition, or extra recognition on your film. Because there's a lot of genius filmmakers out there that don't get
No.
their material recognized.
No.
So it's almost like a little extra boost. The three main films that I did in the last, I don't know if we're going to talk about them or not, but the three main films that I did in the last year or two, the Omicron Killer, Christmas Eve in Miller's Point, and the Art Thief. They all have at least some star power in them.
Yeah.
That's helping just people look at the film more, and then once they look at the film, they see that there's a lot of brilliance and great storytelling in all three of those films. I'm not just saying it because I'm in those films. I've been a part of a lot of films I wouldn't go brag about or advertise, but these three, it's been a good year for me, and a good year for definitely those three films that I just mentioned.
I agree. The Omicron Killer, that really surprised the hell out of me. I got BayView is distributing the film. They sent me a copy of it and said, take a look. And so I said, yeah. So I go ahead and I watched, and I was blown away. I was
Just,
very,
just for the audience that's watching, BayView is the distribution company that I'm one of the producers on Omicron Killer. BayView is the distribution company that we made a deal with, that's going out and putting the movie all over the place. So that's who Patrick is saying he got the movie through, I guess, BayView.
yeah.
Right? Did you meet Jeff, the director writer, first, or did you meet people at BayView first?
No, I've known Peter Castro for a long time. So
Oh,
we also know Peter's a producer on the film as well. So Peter's the one that said, "Hey," and of course, and Peter's been on the show before. We actually had him on the show to talk about the role of a distributor in today's movie world. A terrific interview too. Great guy. Peter's great. And then the fact that he liked your movie and he think he helped produce it.
listen,
It only,
I was so those who don't, Jeff Knight is the writer and the director of and I would
yeah.
call him a producer too on the Omicron Killer. And I was having phone conversations with him for about 6 months leading up to the film. And did I think that the film had potential? Yes, absolutely. But did I think it was, when I saw the finished product, and I was on set almost every day. I had it's a funny story, but I have 4 small roles in the movie. I'm kind of in disguise in different characters. Because it was actually cast before we had met. Most of the movie was cast, so that's a story for another day. Anyway, 6 months before the movie, I'm talking to Jeff all the time. Then I'm on set almost every day, and then I didn't see the film. While it was being edited, I didn't see it, and I saw it for the first time. Actually, Jeff had sent it to me before it got released in the theaters, but I purposely didn't watch it because I wanted my first experience with it to be in the theater. So I was at the premiere up in Albany, and it blew my mind how well that thing was put together. From the cinematography, which shout out to Brad Reeb. Jeff's writing really came to life. Jeff writes some incredible characters, different
Yeah,
types of characters,
he definitely made
and
some memorable ones here for this one.
it's got some real just fun, different, unique characters that come to life, and an audience member could fall in love with any one of the different characters. It's got its scary scenes, being a horror movie, and it's got its comedy, and it's just very stylistic across the board too. Because there's so much cliche out there in every genre, really. So how are you going to make it original, and how are you going to make it stand out? And Jeff modernizes. He brings modern ideas to the horror world. He's a horror a huge horror buff himself, so he knows what to mix and match. And we're actually he's written the next version, or excuse me, part 2 to the Omicron Killer is already written, and we're about to almost start raising funds for it. It's a hell of a script, and it's going to be another masterpiece. And we're hoping that these movies blow up, as they've already gotten. The Omicron has gotten amazing reviews already, and it's doing really well with all the people that have seen it.
I thought I had a lot of heart to it too, Chris. That's what really when I thought I had a lot of heart to it. It definitely is some fun. It is really, really fun. Here you go. Most of these movies, you got that unstoppable killer, and here we go. We have Paul Shadow. He plays the alternate COVID killer, and here he is, a big burly guy taking care of business, and then he gets his ass kicked by some
Well, let's not spoil
not
it for those. Let's not spoil it for those who didn't see it. However, let's
right.
say Paul
But they're
Shadow.
most likeliest people. Let's put it that way.
Paul Shadow plays one hell of a killer. I mean,
Yes.
he is a scary mother. You know what?
What was it like working with him?
I will say he is very, very cool and down to earth. When it's not close to action time. When it's close to action, he is dialed in character, because I think to play that kind of I don't want to say crazy role, but intense role, you probably have to stay dialed in from before. You can't go from making jokes 2 seconds before action is called to being a real killer who either has blood smeared all over him with a crazy mask on, or he's in the middle of fight scenes. So yeah, he's a true professional. He's in his role. You could call it a little of method acting, but he's and he's also one of the producers, and he's one of the producers on the film too. So we got to give credit to him for putting a lot of it together as well.
I agree. I totally agree. Like I said, without giving any spoilers away, I thought it took a lot. I thought the performances through the whole movie, to me, it's what made it a lot of fun. It made it a lot of fun. You mentioned earlier about fall in love with the characters, and I'm like, you're
I'm
right.
in love. I'm in love with. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm really in love with the character Fruger, who's played by Richard Bernstein, who's one of our investors and producers. His character's so much fun. What do you think about Fruger?
I liked him. I liked him a lot.
He comes back. He has a big role in the next film.
Well, the one character that caught me by surprise, the one role that caught me, and I was so glad to find out that I had wrong in my review. I put my review on this, but I thought this is so weird because you just don't, because you're used to seeing them all the time, and a lot of times people just take they take them for granted, and they don't pay attention to some of the performances. But I tell you, Bai Ling played a hell. I loved her Nurse Nancy.
Yeah, Bai Ling. For those that don't know, she's a little bit of a famous horror actress herself, and yeah, she adds some style to that too. So another memorable character. That's what
She
you
had a compassion to her role.
passion, and I mean, I would definitely use the word style because I mean,
I mean,
I think most of the characters I could use the word passionate for, um, but unique and stylistic are a few of these characters that make them memorable, and it's not like a drywall horror film where it's the cliche three guys and three girls drive into the woods and get stabbed one at a time and the killer this happens to the killer. It's not that. It's there's a B plot, a C plot, and they all come together, and there's a cliffhanger at the end or two that probably comes back in the next movie. Wink, wink.
wink, wink. Looks like I'm gonna go to the chat real quick, and it looks like Anthony Expo is here, and it says Chris Laz, you're goated. That's right.
That's my little cousin.
That's,
Shout out to Mr. Anthony Esposito. You're the goat, man. You're the goat. He's a future NBA basketball player.
that
Remember
sounds cool. Hey, can you go play for San Jose State, because we need all the good players we can get.
I don't think he's going to California.
Is he going to California?
No, he's not. I'm saying I don't think he's going to California.
Oh well, one could hope. Let me ask you before we get into started of your career, but how did you get involved with the Omicron Killer? How did you find your way on, both as a producer and as an actor?
Um, One of my closest friends in real life, like not an actor friend. His name is Chris Lazzaro. He and I, we grew up together in Brooklyn. We grew up together playing basketball against each other, and then he played at St. Edmunds. I played at Poly Prep high schools in Brooklyn, and then after high school we ended up playing in a lot of recreational leagues together. We became good friends. We were going to a lot of the same parties, and then I think I started acting my sophomore year of college, and then I think Chris Lazzaro picked up on it a few years later, and then we got involved around the same time, and we went to LA together for acting work, and we were kind of in the industry a lot together. The point is, we would recommend each other to different projects, introduce each other to people, and he introduced me to Jeff Knight, and I was actually on set for another movie I was doing, The Art Thief, at the time, and I remember I was filming the day I was on the first phone call with Jeff Knight. Jeff Knight calls me because Chris recommended me for a role. This is how it started. Sorry, I'm going all over the place. Chris recommended me for a role, and Jeff Knight called me to talk about it. He had watched my stuff on my website, chrislazzaroactor.com. And I told him, I said, "Hey Jeff, can we speak a little bit later?" And he said, "Yeah, no problem." And then one thing leads to another. Again, while I'm waiting to film on The Art Thief, I'm on set in Provincetown, Massachusetts. And Jeff and I just can't stop talking to each other. We can't stop talking. And we ended up on the phone for 2 hours. The first phone call, 2 hours while I'm on set for another film. They didn't call me yet, which is they didn't call me to shoot, which is why I was able to speak to him. But my phone, the point is, my phone calls with Jeff ever since that day, we speak 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes more. And our phone calls range from anywhere from a half hour to 2 or 3 hours. We have really long phone calls because we have a very similar mindset about a lot of things, whether it's about the industry or not about the industry. So that's to answer your question. Within like a month or so, you know, he needed to fill a couple roles, and I said, oh, I know a good actor for this, I know a good actress for this, and I did that. And then he said, oh, would you do a little more casting? I ended up doing some casting for the project, and now I'm casting a lot of the next film. Crazy Clowny is the name of it. And then the casting turned into, you know, other production duties with helping with the fundraiser, raise money, and then just then being on set every day and making some choices for the film. And the same thing goes for the next one, Crazy Clowny. So it kind of just morphed one thing into the next.
Now you didn't have any background in that either, right? So you're sort of learning on the job as you go, right?
In producing?
Yes.
I do. I've not a ton, but I've done over the years. I've done everything. I mean, I have like officially produced like 4 or 5 films that have been in and out of the film festival circuits, and you know they're out there. And then in college, I back in the day, I made a few of my own films, so I know what it takes, and I know some of the. Not to mention, I've directed, I've written, so I like to do it all. To be frank.
What do you like doing? What do you like doing best, though? I mean, what do you like doing best? What's your greatest strength?
I think my greatest strength is acting. I think, but I do some writing, and I love writing. I absolutely love writing drama and comedy. I would say writing second. I would say directing third. I don't love producing or casting. It's okay, but it just gets the job done. And I've been around the block in this industry in New York, so I know a lot of actors in New York, a lot of actors and actresses. So I could kind of fill a lot of. I know actors of every age range, every ethnicity. I've been doing live theater for many years, so I know a lot of people through sketch comedy. Shout out to Bragging Rights, New York City. Get those plugs in while you can, right? That's right.
No. By all means.
I know. After this interview, I'm gonna have so many people that say, "Oh, you didn't say my name. Oh, you didn't shout me out." Not that I'm, but it's happened after my last couple interviews. Why didn't you? But I want to shout everybody out, because let me help you out here. Let me help you out for at least this one. To everybody who's getting over here and giving Chris a hard time about shouting you out, I don't see you in our chat, and unless I see you drop a comment down below here, you can say, "Hey, Chris, I was here. I came by and I watched the replay. I'm dropping a comment." Unless I see that, or I see you inside the chat saying, "Yo, Chris, what's up?" Leave Chris alone. That's a good point.
Ty T says he loves Chris. So I think there's a lot. I think a few of your fans are here. A few of your peers, few of your fans are here. That's awesome. I always look for that in the chat. I love it when we're doing a show like this, and I look over there, and all of a sudden I start seeing peers come through. Your peers, not mine. Directors and actors and writers. I start seeing them come through.
Well, a lot of people watch it back after too. It's hard, with lives, because there's a million things going on, right?
Yes, and we're competing with every one of them. Yeah. But I love it. You know how that goes. I mean, you said you did live theater. You said you've done live theater before. Have you ever done?
I shouldn't have even said live theater, because all theater is live. But yes, the point is.
But have you ever walked out into a performance and there's maybe 10 or 15 people looking back at you?
You're saying while I'm on stage,
Yeah.
I see people looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Let's say there's a 200 seat room and you're in there and you walk out there, just, the curtains goes up there and instead of 200 people, there's maybe like 30. Has that
Oh,
ever happened to you?
you're saying with a lot of empty seats. That's what you're
Right.
saying?
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting because
Mm.
almost every show I've been a part of off Broadway, the cast almost always looks out behind the curtains to see how many people are in the seats before the show starts. And in the sometimes occasions that there's not that many seats filled, you can kind of feel it may be spoken about, it may not be spoken about. The actors' energy go a little bit down, or actors get a little bit, upset that it's not a packed house. And then you almost always have the actor, the motivator actor that says, I don't care how many people are out there. We're doing the same show, the same type of energy, which some extent that's true. You do want to, deliver the same powerful energy. However, it is different in the regard that like you don't have to scream. You got to also feel the room. You can't scream to 500 seats if there's only 7 people in the front row. It just doesn't make sense.
No.
I've been doing kids entertainment for 15 years, clown and magician at kids parties. And every single party I used to do 7 to 8 to 9 parties a weekend. And that's not an exaggeration. Now I'll do only a few parties a weekend. I've toned it down. But the point is, every single party is completely different. There might be 3 2-year-olds sitting watching a magic show. 3 2-year-olds that don't understand what's going on. So of course I'm not gonna do a huge performative thing for 3 2-year-olds versus I might do a party for 200 10-year-olds on a cruise ship. And I have a microphone. My energy is gonna be huge. So that's a very general way of explaining that you gotta feel the room, right?
Right. That's one good thing about film versus live theater is the fact that, when you're on location, you don't feel that pressure. I mean, you're not going to look in the curtain and see there's 20 people there and feel your energy just, because you're not performing in front of anybody. You're performing in front of you're performing in front of your peers when you're on location. That's what, and in the hope of creating a larger audience later. But you don't have that pressure on location, or as wow, there's a crew here. Well, they're supposed to be here. So you can do you find yourself able to relax a little bit when you're versus on location versus a theater setting? I mean, what gets you? What
Well,
gets
there's
your
two
energy?
answers there. There's 2 answers to that question.
Sure.
The first is there's me personally, and then there's what I think about people in general. So me personally, I prefer live theater. I think I thrive on it because I love feeding off the energy of the room, and I very rarely get nervous. Very, very rarely. Um, but on the flip side, a lot of people being on set, on location with the crew and the cameras, a lot of people get just as nervous, if not more nervous, with the camera on them versus performing live. Some people they see a camera and they freeze up. So yes, granted, you do have multiple takes to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So at the end of the day, that's always going to be, you're always going to get more chances, of course, on film. But as far as the nerves, I would think that they're pretty equal. Would be my guess.
How do you handle the nerves for yourself? You're a veteran performer. You have over 40 credits to your film credits plus countless theater. Plus and you're performing in front of kids. That's probably the worst audience ever as far as pressure goes. But how do you?
I have no pressure in front of kids. No pressure.
None.
There's with in front of kids is the least pressure because it's the easiest if you screw something up to just cover it up because the kids can't, they don't know if you messed up a magic trick. There's been times over the years that I train the new entertainers, and that's one of the things that I tell them is if you mess something up, you just just move forward. There's a million ways to hide it, and as long as you're confident and or you're happy and or you're smiling, that's going to radiate. That's going to transfer over to the kids. So, the kids is the easiest to answer that. But as far as the other part of your question, how do I deal with the nerves?
Yeah.
I don't want to go into too long of stories, but I'll say two quick things. The first is just playing basketball my whole life. I was very, very disciplined by a lot of coaches, but specifically my high school coach, Bill McNally. He was like a drill sergeant for basketball. So he taught us so many disciplinary tactics and kind of put us through in a good way, just intense boot camp like practices. And we took it so, and then there was the intellectual side of the game where he would give us first of all scouting reports on every team we played against that were multiple pages long, but we would have our own playbooks, hundreds of plays, which most high school teams, let alone college and probably even in the NBA, they don't have that many plays. So it was, for us, it was a mental game as far as physical. So that always, it was so intense that I basically was able to bring any of those disciplinary tactics to in the film world or acting. It was easy. I'm reading lines on a page. That's much easier than getting beat up on the basketball court or,
Yep.
So going into auditions, I think a lot of actors get nervous because they see the casting directors and the producers behind the desk watching them. Well, before COVID they did. Now everything's on tape, there's my backdrop. So I always thought that these casting directors and producers they're human beings just like us. I think a lot of people think that they're on this higher up level, and no offense if you are a director, but you're all human, and whether you meet them at a film festival and in a social gathering at a film festival, or in any other case, just talk to them like human beings, and I think you might think otherwise of them. So that's my two answers to
your last answer is perfect. You just talk to them as people. That's all they are. They're just people. They put on their pants one leg
we're
at a
in
time.
the industry as actors. We probably have the highest rejection rate out of any profession in the world. Even if you're a very high booker as an actor, the chances are you're still going to get rejected 8 out of 10 times, maybe 9 out of 10 times. It's a high booking month if you book a couple jobs in that month. That's a very high booking rate, but you're going to get told no a million times. You have to be comfortable with that, and you have to be able to move on. I got very emotionally attached to a couple projects right out of college that were huge projects, and I went to multiple callbacks for, but I didn't end up booking them. One of them was a Lay's commercial with Eva Mendes. I thought that was going to change my career and my financial pockets. I went to like 3 or 4 callbacks for that thing, and I didn't end up booking it. And then a huge mob film with a lot of big Italian actors right out of college I booked, and the film ended up not happening. And both of those things absolutely broke my heart for several months and maybe even a couple of years. But eventually I just told myself I'm going to do the best I can and live with the results. And I think, it works for me because I shoot for the sky and live with the results. And I think we can't change the results. We could just put in the work.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. I like the way how you phrase that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, man.
And a cappuccino, a decaf if you need.
You don't always get everything. I mean, and sometimes it is good to get used to hearing the word no, because then then it doesn't become it doesn't define you. It's just part of the job. It's part of the job, and it makes you appreciate it a little bit more when you do get yes. When you do get a yes.
Yeah, a lot of actors when they get told yes, whether it's their first feature film or their 10th, it's the greatest day that they've had that month, that the 6 months, maybe that year. It's still for me. Like when I get cast in a feature film, it's always a new adventure, and it's a feeling you don't get that euphoria or bliss from a lot of, or that high from a lot of things.
I want to talk to you because you were talking about this, but I want to talk to you about, because like I looked at your body of work, and which I guess the one I'm really excited to ask you about, because I'm watching it right now for the first time, and I see I see that you played a Mossad agent in it. I'm going like, that's so damn cool.
It
So
was very quick. Yeah, you're talking about Blacklist. It's just a couple lines. And to be honest with you, whether it's Blacklist or Blue Bloods or Luke Cage, these are all shows I had small parts in.
yeah, but it's
New York.
important though, right?
What's that?
Do you find those when you do you find yourself looking at your past? Do you look at them as where you came from, or do you look back to them and say, do you see them as building blocks? Like, I added, I'm building it forward, I'm moving forward. Do you look at them that way, or do you look at them as just
I think
things that
actors
you've
look at
done?
it different way. They're like, some actors, like once they've booked enough or a few guest star or co-star roles, which are smaller roles on TV shows, they eventually want to do reoccurring and only reoccurring. I'm not like that. I mean, I haven't had a reoccurring on a television show anyway, but no, if it's one or two lines and it has a good paycheck attached, yeah, I'm probably gonna say yes. And I also do now. Now the difference is I'm I won't say very selective. I'm selective on saying yes to films. There are certain. I definitely have high standards for that.
Yes.
Number one is and I know this sounds silly to some people who might not be in the industry, but number one is I will not do a film for no pay anymore.
Mhm.
I haven't done a film for no pay in a long time. The only way I'll do that is if I'm really close friends with the person that's making it, or I'm producing it. But a lot of actors, to build their resume, they do that early on. So I won't do that. I won't do films where I'm playing the same. I've played a million times the gangster, the Italian tough wannabe tough guy from New York. That's how I used to always get cast. When Jersey Shore, the show was out, I used to get cast as that a million times. I won't do that type of role for, a project that's not a big
So,
project anymore, because that just doesn't do anything for me. I've played it a million times. It doesn't help my resume. It doesn't bring any creativity or passion from my end because I've done it.
right.
So,
You always
and it
want to move.
also,
You always want to move on. You always want to move on and get a new character to sink your teeth into, right? You
well,
want
I
to
mean,
like,
mostly I have played a lot of other characters besides that type, but that's what I mean by I've already played that type so many times that unless it's don't get me wrong, I did play that on the show Rami on Netflix recently in the last couple of years. And I've played it a couple other times too recently, but again, those are big projects that I'm playing that
right,
on. If it's an
right.
independent film, I might not even submit to it on Actors Access or casting networks or backstage. I might not submit to those roles if I don't like the project, even if it pays well.
I can get that. I get behind that. Because what I see is just, you want to be challenged creatively. If you go back there and you played the bad guy, play the mob boss every role. Typecasting is typecasting is still a real deal. It's still a real thing. You just get yourself instantly instantly put in does your last name help you, or does it, or do you find yourself when people see, oh, it's Chris Lazzaro, he must be Italian, so go over there and you're going to submit you for Guido. I mean,
I don't think my last name has anything to do with it, because let's just use Actors Access for example. It's the number one website that actors submit themselves for roles on. I mean, this is whether you have an agent or not, you can self-submit on certain websites. Actors Access is the best one, and I've seen the other side of Actors Access and casting networks for that matter. Meaning, like, I've seen actors apply to roles, and there's thousands upon thousands of submissions, especially if they're for good roles. So the point is, the people that are looking at who submit, meaning the casting directors or the producers of the films, they do not care what your name is. Maybe at the very, very end, if it's narrowed down to 2 people, something might click in their head. But when you're seeing thousands, if not hundreds of submissions, you're just looking at what headshot stands out the most for that role. Then you click the headshot and you see their resume, and you might watch the reel and see if they're good for that particular role. So I don't think names really has anything to do with it.
I'm glad to hear that, actually, because we've heard people who've commented that, they walked in there and even before they get seen or anything else, their name has been mentioned. That they, oh, I like your name. It's like,
Maybe if I look at it from the other side, maybe if I had a name that wasn't Italian, or it was like very, I don't know, Indian or Asian or something else.
I think your name is New
like,
York.
oh, I can't hire this Indian actor for this Italian role. Maybe I guess I never thought of it from that perspective. But good directors, casting directors, producers, I know I keep lumping those together. They're not gonna judge you based on your name. They will judge you based on your headshot. That is for sure.
Yeah, right. I see it as New York. I mean, when I'm here and talking to you, I'm like, man, he could play any role. And I mean, he's the New Yorker.
Well,
I mean, you can play a lawyer, you can play a doctor, you can play a CEO, you can play a police captain. I mean, you can just see that all. Huh?
I appreciate that. Yeah, in the summer of 2021, I was in a show with. I tend to talk a lot and tell long stories, so I try to.
No, we love it.
Make sure to keep it short, so that we don't go down rabbit holes with everything. But you know who Rich Little is, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I did a show off Broadway in 2021 with Rich Little, called Trial on the Potomac. Shout out to George Bugatti, the writer. And Rich Little plays President Nixon. It's about the Watergate scandal. So those of you that don't know, Rich Little was the most famous impersonator in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Now he's in his 80s. Now he's in his 80s in age. He's up there. But he played President Nixon in the show, and I played an attorney in the show. I played a lawyer, with the slick back hair and the suit from the 1960s. And some of the people that saw that show, they I don't want to say couldn't see me play the gangster, but they saw me as a lawyer for those couple months we were running the show. And then most people that see me play the gangster, because I look completely different. A lot of times I'll have the earrings on, or they'll draw tattoos on me or something. The hair will be different. Facial hair might be different. And they say, you can't play a lawyer. But then come to the Trial on the Potomac show and we'll play the lawyer. So I think good actors can do that. They can have a little bit of range.
Sure, why not? Why would anybody say that? Why would it? Wow, that sort of irritates me.
Well,
why would anybody tell you? Why would anybody?
If you go watch my dramatic demo reels or my art thief clips, and you see me acting like a crazy lunatic, I can understand why people say he can't play a lawyer. He's too crazy. I can understand it, but that's
the shit out of me. That frustrates me because it's like, how can you tell until you actually see the artist perform? You can't tell.
Maybe really good eyes for it, or talent scouts, or casting directors. Maybe they can see through it, but a lot of people cannot.
I tell you what.
If any actors are watching, I think most actors know this, but if you don't, that's why it's good to have multiple clips on Actors Access. Casting, they like short clips now. They like 20-second clips of this character, 20-second clips of this character, 20-second clips, and then you submit that with your submission for the role.
20 seconds to impress somebody.
Yeah, because they don't reels used to be anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, and I heard many times from the casting directors' mouths that they don't watch the whole things. They have a million actors to go through. They don't have time to watch the whole thing, so they can't get to the 3rd or 4th minute. You're lucky if they get through the 20 or 30-second clip, because most of the time what they're doing is they're pressing play, They watch 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, and they say, "Oh, I could bring this person in the room to see them for the audition, or I can't." And they do that for a bunch of actors. So short clips.
You know, it used to be, Chris. It used to be like, bands to go out there and play showcases for labels, and they're A&R people from 4, 5, 6 people, labels or whatnot, and you go out there like, what do we do? What do we say? What do we, how are we gonna impress these guys? And you go out there and you say to them, say, play your 3 best songs. That's what you play. You play your 3 best songs, not your favorites, your 3 best. And you go out there
Yes.
and you hit those 3. Don't do anything else other than those 3. Because if you hooked them by the third one, you're in a good spot.
Right.
If you don't, it doesn't matter what you play after that, you're done.
You also kind
Um,
of want to keep them. I like the number of 3 because you don't want to you you don't want their energy to be drained by the time you're done. You want them to be on the highest of highs, and then fiending for more.
right, right. All right, let me go back to the chat real quick and say hi to some people that have come in. Let's see. Let me scroll up here because I think I probably missed a few. Johnny is here. Johnny, Caricia. Hey Chris, who's gonna play Crazy Clowny? I love him. Well, it can't be Johnny. Let's see. Tony Diaz says hello.
What's
And
up, guys? What's up,
let's see,
John?
Andre says 100%. Everybody's human. We all go through challenges. Yep.
Who,
Let's see.
who said that?
Uh,
Who said that?
my good friend Andre
Okay.
from New Zealand. He said that. That's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. And then there's one BR Sox 604 says, "Who's the best actor you've ever worked with?" That's a good question. Let's go. Let's go with that fun question right there. Who
Wow.
has been your 3 favorite actors you worked with, your scene partners?
Wow. 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 I mean, this is just off the top of my head. I would really have to think about all the projects. But I loved Steve Oliva, who plays my father in Christmas Eve in Miller's Point.
Okay.
That's a movie produced by Michael Cera. Michael Cera's in the movie too. Martin Scorsese's daughter's in the movie. Steven Spielberg's son's in the movie. We were just in Cannes Film Festival a few months ago for that movie. It'll be out November 15th, so check it out. So Steve Oliva, he plays my father. I mean, he's super talented as an actor, but he's also just such a nice guy. And you like, there's the best actors to work with are the people that understand when it's time to joke around on set and when it's time to focus. And an added bonus if you could have a good conversation and you have a lot in common with the people. So I'll put Steve Oliva up there. I will put he's gonna kill me for not remembering his last name now because it's been a few years. But Tom from Trial on the Potomac, who played my lawyer partner, Tom Gregory. God, Tom Gregory. He was
Saved at the last minute.
he's a great actor. I mean, anybody that I'm talking about, you guys should look. Lou Martini Jr. He's an actor. He's one of my closest actor friends. He's from The Sopranos. He's from. He was a kid in The Godfather. He's the only actor of all time to be in both The Godfather and The Sopranos. And he's a close friend of mine. I've worked with him on many projects. There's so many guys. Don't hate me. I'm going to throw some names out there. Max Deacon, I love you. Jeff Knight, I love you. Everybody from Art Thief, Christmas Eve at Miller's Point, Omicron, Jersey Shore Massacre, Murder on the Cape. The list goes on and on. Everybody from I got cut out. You're back?
Yep, we're back.
Everybody from my bragging rights shows in Manhattan. The list goes on and on. Honestly, there's so many, and if I had time to think about that, I'd write a longer list because I've made so many great friends. Christian DeMeo, Johnny Oliva from Gravesend.
Did you get to do a scene with any of the cast of the Blacklist? Did you get to work with
No.
Diego or Megan or James? No.
No.
Let's see. I've
I will
commented
say this
on.
also. Sorry, let me throw one more thing out. Not
Sure.
the direct answer to your question, but along those lines. I was on set with Al Pacino for a few days. I wasn't in the movie, but I was playing a double for Evan Peters. And Al Pacino and Evan Peters were the two leads in the movie. This is years ago. And so Al Pacino, Evan Peters, myself, and Al Pacino's double were hanging out a little bit over the course of a couple of days. So Al Pacino, to me and to everybody on set, super nice guy, incredibly nice guy, and he's the biggest that any actor comes, right? Then I'm not going to say names, but I've been on set with a lot of B-list actors, and I know it's, people say this, but it really is true. Not all, because there's most are great, but you have some that really think they're, don't stink. And
Yeah.
it's really funny because you have me, and I'm sure a lot of other actors on set that have worked with actors just as big, if not bigger. And in the back of our minds, we're thinking, really, the amount of entitlement that you have, and there's no reason to be entitled. We're all equals. We should all feel like
Right.
equals and be treated like equals. And that goes back to what I was saying before about why I don't get nervous.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a peer is a peer. I mean, you're just as good as the next person standing next to you.
Al Pacino
You-
can be nice to everybody. You can be nice to everybody, and that
you-
doesn't mean we're gonna take you out of your method acting or anything like that. Just be a decent human. We're not asking you to be a saint, but just
What
be a decent human.
how would you describe your style, your acting style?
Um, I will just say this. If you want to ask me a follow-up, you can, but I'll just say live in the moment.
Okay, so you're not method then. Method's hard, isn't it?
I try to be careful of not over preparing because I don't want my performance to be robotic.
Right.
Which can happen if you say, oh, on this line or on this word, I have to breathe this way. On this word, on this line, I have to yell this way. I have to pick up my cup when I say this. I have to rub my jacket like this. The performance is going to come out ingenuine. And if you don't trust me on that, trust Bob Krakauer, the best acting coach in America. Look him up. He is I don't want to say changed my life because that's a strong phrase, but he gave me tremendous insight into acting over a decade ago when I started taking his classes, which was really hard to get into. I have no connection to him, so I'm not plugging him for no reason. I just highly recommend anybody that wants to get an education on acting, if you're able to somehow get in his class at one-on-one, or even there's some audio out there online of him speaking about acting. I would highly recommend any actor. I don't care if you're theater. He works with Broadway actors. He works with TV regular. His style of teaching. Nobody that I've been around compares to him.
So how does it go for you? When you're you've had on Omicron Killer, you've had all this responsibility put on you. A casting director, producer. You acted in 4 different parts. You've done other things to help get the movie made and finished. How do you go from being like just basically a fireman on set to what was the translation like from doing a movie like that and turning around and doing a movie like Miller's Point with a bigger cast? What was it like? Was it just sort of like was it like relief? Like, I'm just back to being an actor. I'm thrilled to be here as an actor. That's what I'm looking for. Or do you still retain that tension and do you look at how a set is run and think to yourself, how would I do this differently? How could I improve this functionality?
Was I thinking, how would I do this differently on like a Christmas Eve at Miller's Point set?
Yeah, I mean, do you come onto a set now that you're not longer just let's just face it, you're no longer just an actor. Now you're an actor, you're a producer, you're a casting director. Anything that's needed to
Well,
get a project done. Uh, do you look at projects differently than other just being an actor?
well, just let's get this out of the way. I didn't have to think anything about Christmas Eve at Miller's Point because there were way more professionals on the crew of that, and actors, but the crew especially, than I could. They know more about making a movie than I could ever dream of. Some of the people that were on that movie, so I didn't. Yeah, I was just focused on acting with that. And I usually am just focused on acting, even with Omicron. I didn't have a hard time going from putting out fires to acting because one in that movie Omicron, my parts weren't that big, and number two, all the other producers, we had a lot of people that were working on set, so I didn't have sole responsibility to take care of everything. Um, but about 12 years ago, um, I was trying to create my own TV show, and I actually wrote the whole series for it, and I wrote the pilot episode. I got it copyrighted. I ended up filming a sizzle reel for it. And even just filming the sizzle reel, which was 3 or 4 scenes, I did 2 versions of the sizzle reel, so each had 2 or 3 scenes. And then also around that same time, maybe a year later, I produced, directed, and acted in my own theater show. But I was the only director. On my sizzle reel, I was the only director. I was the only producer on both of those also. Versus a film a few years later where I was only the director, I wasn't the producer. The films that I had to, and the films and the theater projects I had to be both the only producer and director and act in was brutal. And I told myself, I will never do that again. Maybe direct and act, but not produce, direct, and act, because I was worried about 10,000 different things. Why is that light over here? Why this continuity? I was worried about everything. And you cannot focus. You cannot tune everything else out and just live in the moment. My simple acting phrase, and act. So I don't want to say I'm never going to do that again, but it definitely affects one's performance if they have a lot of other things to worry about.
I just want to say hi to some people that have just come in, including Jeff Clark Jr., who is a fine actor and screenwriter and director, all in his own right. His film, You Filthy Animal, is sweeping the festival circuit right now. And Betty is here. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Congrats. We'll check it out.
Yeah. Jeff's the real deal. In fact, yeah. You guys should connect for sure. Van City, greetings, Betty J, greetings. Glad you guys are here. We were talking with Chris Lazzaro. He is a multi-talented artist. He is also one of the stars and casting director and producer of the Omicron Killer, which is a how would you let's ask you this. How would you, if someone has just come up there and they don't know anything about the Omicron Killer, how would you describe the Omicron Killer to someone who didn't know about it?
Just get ready for a wild ride and expect anything.
Expect anything?
Would you agree with that? Seeing the movie,
100%. Yeah, I would definitely say that, because you're gonna go in there thinking it's gonna be one way, and let me tell you, it ain't.
It's definitely rated R. It's not I won't say it's rated X, but I won't say it's rated PG-13, but it's certainly rated R. Do not bring your kids to see it.
Yeah, this is definitely an R-rated movie, that's for sure. Definitely a throwback to a lot of the '80s movies too, because you guys did something that's not. You guys did something that's not seen very much in any of these movies, and there's some pretty young ladies in the movie. That's for sure.
That's
all
not
right.
done anymore. Movies, you're saying?
Yeah, I no, we don't see that anymore. I mean, I'm sitting there going like, is there? Oh, yes, they are. Okay, well, you just don't see that anymore. But it added it added a
Women in
refreshing.
reverse. Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it added, it added a refreshing aspect to the movie, so to speak. Um, okay, so I want to ask you a question.
Well, women can bring in, you know, you don't want to have beautiful women for, just cheap like if that's the only thing you're doing, but
No.
yeah, it can add more eyeballs whether it's in the trailer or in the movie itself.
Well, you mentioned earlier that you were on set most of every day, so you got to see some of the actors how they acted, and I wanted to get your impression of what was it like watching or sharing a scene with a horror icon, a living horror icon, and Felissa Rose.
Melissa,
What was it? Yes, what was it like working with her or watching her work?
Felissa's a good friend of mine.
We'll see how good after the show's over. After the
I,
show's
s-
over.
I say it like that because Felissa and I have a lot of friends in common in this industry, and we've worked with a lot of the same people, and we became good friends off set. Not only her, but her best friend Debbie, my best friend Chris, and we're planning on filming a couple. First of all, she's going to be in Crazy Clowny also, and
Yeah, yes.
we have other things potentially in the works too. And we just had a great time. We always have a great time hanging out on set and off set. Laughs,
Yeah.
down to earth. Felissa, for being a horror star that Felissa is, she's as down to earth as anybody comes. So obviously very talented, which is why she got to where she is today.
Yes.
But she's like, there's not everybody gives you the feel or the vibes. I grew up in Brooklyn, and there was definitely a certain mentality or feeling or vibe that you got from people you hung out with in the high school days and the college days, going to the bars, just that comfort, warm feeling that it feels like home. Felissa definitely um, embodies that. And I don't know if she's from. She seems like the type that's from New York, but don't quote me on that. And I would say New York, New Jersey all have a very similar thing going on with some of the energy. Not all of it, of course. I'm speaking generally, but yeah, Felissa. Like I would say, like there's also people that are just like actors, and they stick to that, and they don't have the social thing, feeling as natural or somebody that you could hang out with. But Felissa is like that. She doesn't feel entitled, and she doesn't feel like anybody owes her anything. She does her job, and she's really cool on and off set. That's what I could say.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Felissa Rose,
She really,
for those that
she,
don't know who we're talking about, Felissa Rose, look her up.
most of the people in this chat are very well versed in Felissa. Actually, I'm the one probably of everybody here in this group, in this chat, I'm probably the one that's probably seen Felissa the least. I didn't actually see Felissa act until this year. Don't ask me how that happened, because I can't explain that one, Chris. I cannot explain that one.
How did that happen?
I'm passing. I'm tearing up my fan. I'm tearing up my horror fanboy card right now.
Can I ask you a question before we
Uh-oh.
maybe wrap it up?
Sure.
And short answer. You don't have to go into crazy detail. Give me your top 2 horror movies of all time, and I'm sure you're gonna offend some people. But
Wow. Right now, the two that gets me, one's called A Dark Song.
what is it?
A Dark Song.
A
It's
dark.
it's an Irish film. Uh, Came out in 2016. And then the other one I would sit there and say that has really impacted me is a movie I saw this year called The Coffee Table.
I will watch both of those. And what was the movie you said earlier? Diversion? Did you say Diversion?
It's, oh,
I know it's not a horror movie.
Devotion. Devotion.
Divulsion.
Yes. That was
Divulge.
with Glenn Powell and Jonathan Majors.
All right.
That's a great movie. I'll throw in one other movie as a bonus because Jeff's in the chat here too, and I really want to get his opinion.
Jeff Knight.
Jeff Clark.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, Jeff Clark Jr. So I watched this movie, and let me turn around and ask you that question back. What have been three movies that you watched that actually stayed with you in your mind that you took with you and they're living in your head rent free?
I don't think any movie's living in my head rent free, but I could give you a few of my favorite movies if you want to hear that.
Yeah,
The Illusionist,
good movie.
Illusionist, Prestige, similar style.
Yeah,
The Equalizer series with Denzel. I like I like the first one the best. Um, I'm a huge Titanic guy too. Titanic.
I hear people. Honestly, I like Titanic too.
Yeah.
I like it. The one actor who stole that movie from me, I mean, besides was Victor Garber. Dude, Victor Garber just absolutely owned that movie. I mean, his Andrews,
I'm so yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Andrews is just an amazing human being. You just felt so bad for him. He just stole that movie for me.
I'm
Equalizer
so
One is fire. Yes. If you guys get a chance, go back and watch the Equalizer series that came out. That's movie franchise is based off. That's not bad either. That's actually really
People
good.
love all three of them. I actually like them in the like I one the best, two the second best, third. Like number one is one of my favorite movies of all time. I can't say that about two and three. They're good, but back to the Titanic just a second. Um, Sometimes if I'm interested in the story, if it's based on a true story, I'll do all sorts of research.
Sure.
To learn my own things about it. And I ended up watching the 1950 something version of the Titanic, which people from the boat survivors and everybody said it's way more historically accurate than the modern one, which is okay. Which is okay because James Cameron was trying to make more of a cinematic thing,
Right.
but it's really fantastic. It's a great movie, the one they made in the 50s. It's called A Night to Remember. Um,
1956.
I just love the science of I don't know how this makes any sense. I love the science of how the boat, exactly where the iceberg hit and what had to happen on the bottom floors of the boat for it to tilt and sink and why they couldn't avoid the iceberg and
Yeah.
why, and then the other ships that they were reaching out to, one or two of them just completely left them. They could have come and save them sooner, and they ignored the fireworks they were shooting in the air, and they ignored I forget what they call it, telegrams.
Yeah.
Telegrams. I think
No,
they were saying.
teletype. They're trying to do Morse code and have them come get
Yeah.
them. Gosh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love a good historical, and that's what devotion is. Devotion is a a historical drama as well. And so I love history. I like movies like that. And I can't believe you for liking Equalizer, the first Equalizer, because the girl who gets killed in that movie, her friend gets who gets killed in that movie, is none other than my favorite actress working today, and that is Haley Bennett. And she played the girl, one of the girls who got killed in that movie.
In the
That
first
spurred,
Equalizer.
yeah, that spurred
Did she
the whole
play a
thing in motion.
prostitute?
Yes, yeah, that was Haley Bennett.
Oh my god, that movie is so good.
That movie is really
There's
good.
so many great movies that I want to say right now, but I keep the list short. Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
Oh my gosh, for sure. I wanted to touch bases too on something you commented about too, and I'm glad that you did because I hope that a lot of actors will listen to your words on that. And that is one of the things you mentioned is like you don't work for free anymore, and I'm so glad to hear you say that actually, Chris, because that's been one of my biggest things when I go inside a lot of acting groups. I see a lot of casting groups, a lot of acting groups, and I see a lot of people are always asking for somebody to do stuff for free. They'll sit there and say, well, we'll give you a credit, we'll put you in
It's
IMDb,
okay
and
if
it's
you're
like,
starting. It's okay if you're starting out, and/or if it's your good friends, and/or you believe in the project. But don't go doing it for multiple years, or
mm,
try to make your way up the ladder doing things that don't pay you. Like eventually, you have to. pick your time wisely. And
How much responsibility is it up from an actor and a filmmaker in that? Like, I mean, is it 50-50? Because to me, I always think it's more of, okay, I understand if you're making a short film, right? And you're just cutting your teeth. You're cutting your teeth. I get that. You know, you don't have a budget or anything like that. But when you make short films, that's what you're learning to do. You're learning to raise a budget. You're working to work within your budget, right? You're learning that as a director, as a filmmaker. You're learning those tools as you make your film. It isn't just the film itself that you're working on, that you're creating, but you're learning everything else about the filmmaking process. And part of that is taking care of the talent. That's what you have to do. You have to learn how to take care of your talent. And I just find that when you see a director,
some people have a gift for knowing what it takes, and some people may have come from an acting background, so they know how to take care of their talent. And then I've seen a multitude of people that just, whether directly or indirectly, like blatantly disrespecting the talent. And again, there's levels to things too. It's most people are just looking for common decency and courtesy and respect. But there's some people. I was treated on a set 2 weeks ago. I'm not gonna say why, but they didn't know who I was. But I'm gonna generalize it, and then if people end up in the future looking it up, and they could, fine, I don't care. Throwing somebody but somebody from the wardrobe department was so obnoxious and disrespectful to me and other people on set, and and then you could see how their energy changed when they were communicating with somebody who they thought was big time, who was big time. But just to see that shift in energy constantly, over and over, not just from me to the big person or from somebody else to the big person, over and over, it's something that I take a mental note of, and it's just, I don't think it's right, and I don't respect that.
I don't either.
I think that's very childish, and it's gonna.
They're gonna catch theirs one day. You know that. They're gonna catch it. They can't get away with that bullshit on every set. Sooner or later, someone's gonna catch it in the middle of that, and the game's gonna be over. It's like, yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that toxicity on a set. We just don't need it.
The same thing were things that this particular individual, and it's happened on other sets too. The same things that people preach are either set etiquette or set protocol. They go and abuse that power and or privilege and or do things that are not supposed to happen, or they're, people get in trouble for happening, and they're going and doing it themselves. And it's a lot of hypocrisy, whether it's on a small level or a big level. I'm not preaching perfection. I know everybody's human at the end of the day, but a little bit of self-awareness and a little bit of human decency can get you very far. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be thinking about, I need to be super respectful. No, but just, have a little bit of self-awareness and right. Just be kind, and then do your job. Everybody can do their jobs.
Be nice.
I hope that didn't sound like
rule number one, be nice. Rule number two, be nice. It's like, be nice. One last little section here. Let me go over here and check with the chat here real quick. Let's see. Pat knows I was going to say The Coffee Table. Yes, I've been talking about that movie since last year. That movie will stay in your head. There's another movie I watched last week. I watched Nefarious. Nefarious is a trippy movie.
Nefarious.
Yes.
Write everything down.
I think Jeff may have seen that movie. I don't know, but Nefarious that's a banger of a movie. But it's different. It's different. Let's see. Pap says he knew I was gonna say. He says he knew I was gonna say The Coffee Table. Hell yeah, I am. Let's see. Pap says almost bought Ben-Hur on VHS for 99 cents on my live stream. Okay, Ben-Hur. That's Jeff's favorite movie. That's awesome. That's great. That's actually Jeff's favorite movie. Jeff Clark Jr. Ben-Hur. Let's see. That's awesome. Yes, accountability is king. Real quick, I want to touch bases one last topic before we let you go. You mentioned how you really, really enjoy writing. I think writing is becoming more and more important. You talk to people, what's the first and foremost thing that they want to see in a movie? And pretty much predominantly, it's always going to be a story. I want to see a good story. Doesn't matter who's telling it. I just want to see it. It could be a big name cast or it could be a young cast. I don't care as long as there's a good story behind it. So what is your writing process like? Did that start in high school or did it start in
No, no, no.
college?
I had nothing to do. Well, besides the fact that I walked around with a camera in my hands from a young age as a hobby. I did it completely as a hobby. I did not think of this professionally until college. So I took a couple screenwriting classes in college, and that taught me some of the basics. But then when I got out of college and I started, writing my own TV shows, I was reading a lot about, what to do when you're writing a screenplay. And one thing that I learned that has always stuck with me is it's your project. You don't like there are rules about formatting and stuff like that, but as far as, you know, what type of language the characters use or what style you choose to, whether it's where you set the scene or what, it's your world. You're creating the world, and don't be afraid to just go for it. You don't have to check in with has this been done before? Has that been create the world? If you need to at the end when you're going to film it and you need to make a couple minor changes, fine, but don't hold back from writing the story you want to write.
Now, do you have a special process when you write? Do you purposely set time aside? Do you write at home? Do you like writing in public?
Obviously,
What?
no, it's has to be like completely peaceful. I can't write in public. My mind has to be fully locked in.
It's amazing.
My
It's
process is
amazing.
really, I'm a bulk writer. I think that I'm a bulk writer, meaning sometimes I write for the let's just say the short sketches for a sketch show, bragging rights, and they're 8 to 10 pages, and even though they're short, that's comedy, and I'm a perfectionist. I have to make everything connect the right way, and it takes a lot of mental energy to put everything together. But I will write those sketches. I'll come up with the idea and write those sketches in one sitting, in a 2 or 3 hour sitting. But that's a full 2 3 hour, focus session. Now, if it's a full screenplay, 100 something pages, I'm probably gonna write that in about 4 or 5 sittings, meaning like 20 pages at a time. I'm not somebody who sits and writes like 1 or 2 pages every day and then builds it. I don't do it that way. I don't know if people do it that way, but that's not me. I get a lot out when I sit to write, so I do it less frequently. But a lot in there on the times I do sit down and focus. Does
So
that answer
let's,
your question?
yeah. So let me
I'm not
ask
a
you.
professional. I'm not a professional writer. I just love to do it, and I've had some of my stuff out there, but and I hope that one day I have my writing on bigger platforms.
Yes. Let me go back real quick here. Says, yeah, any great written script takes great skill and vision. It must take a while. It must take a while. I'm a big fan of anybody who can write a good full script. Me too, Andre. Me too. I love a good story. I mean,
You also think like what the audience like, if it's I guess no matter if it's a screenplay or something for the stage, you do think what audiences like, what audiences react to. You wanna also have that in the back of your mind. Yeah, it's your story, but what do you like when you watch a movie? Put a little of that in there. And I have a million ideas on my phone, whether they're, if it's a comedy, I have a million jokes ready. Where can I throw these little jokes in? There's a lot of sprinkling that can go on also, or maybe that comes after the first draft. You know, you could sprinkle it. But for me, um, I have to connect all the plots together, the A plot, the B plot, and the C, kind of like Seinfeld does. You know, they're always tying everything together right at the end.
I always found sitcom writing, it's got to be the hardest. It's got to be some of the hardest things to write because most sitcoms are 22 minutes long, and a lot of them have a story and a B story and a C story. That's a lot of stories to put in within 22 freaking minutes. That's hard.
Well, I
That's
think
hard.
I think in most cases, you know how it's going to be tied together before you write it. I don't know. I can't speak for Seinfeld, but I I think you already know before you put it on the page how it's going to connect. Otherwise, how the hell are you going to write what's leading up to it? Um, I mean, in some cases, if you're only looking for the punchline at the end, if it's a short sketch comedy, or how are you going to tie it together, you can do at the end because it's a short script and you're just writing funny stuff for a few pages, and then right at the end, it's short. You could tie it together.
Sure.
It might not sound like it makes complete sense while I'm saying it, but it makes sense to me, having written a lot.
No, I get it. I get it. Let's see.
And this is what I could say
Chris
is,
Lazzaro?
if you want to write your first script ever, like, just go for it. Just start writing. Just start
Right.
writing, because, like they say, going to the gym, like 90% of your workout is getting to the gym, and then the
Right.
last 10%
Right.
is. But it's the
Once
same with writing
get
a
through the
script.
door first, and everything else will come afterwards.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see. Andre. Oh, thank you so much, Andre. He says this is a great interview. I appreciate that very much. Pap says, Chris Lazzaro, you made a new fan today. I've seen Jersey Shore Massacre, of course. We all have. New fan here today, though. Thanks, you guys. Great interview today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jeff has just followed you on Instagram, Chris. Keep doing your thing, man. So you got some new friends. Yes, Chris's Instagram account is on top on the chat there. You can go over there and connect with Chris on his Instagram. And they can also follow his through that. You can also find his homepage as well, his personal website. All right, I have more questions, but we ran out of time. So all that means is that we'll have to have you come back. And we'll definitely do that because this has been a lot of fun. I definitely want to thank you for coming in. I want you to hang out with me for a couple more minutes. I want to turn around and thank you to the chat. You guys really rocked it hard tonight. I really, really do appreciate it. I wouldn't be able to do this without you. There is no show without the chat. Thank you guys so much for being engaged tonight. I really do appreciate it. Always good to see everybody come in, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we will be welcoming in Crystal Connor, who is the organizer and the creator of Cabin in the Woods Film Festival. This will be my first time interviewing a film festival organizer, so it's my first time. So I had to bring in some help. I brought in our good friend DeRay, also known as Rainbow Fright, and she will be here tomorrow night and co-hosting the show with me, which I'm super grateful for. And if you haven't met DeRay, you're gonna want to. So we'll be talking with DeRay and Crystal tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and of course Wednesday from Boston we have the rock band Major Moment will be with us on Wednesday. I want to thank you guys all for your support. Chris, stay right where you're at for just one more second to the chat. We'll see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with DeRay and Crystal Connor. Have a great night.
Ciao, y'all.
Let's see.